Hi everyone, welcome to Travel, Explore, Celebrate Life. We are your hosts Neil Patil and Sunila Patil from Veena World. Now, as 2023 draws to a close, we felt it is a good time to really reflect on where we've been this year, what our year-ending travel goals look like, whether did we achieve them or did we not achieve them, and what we have in store for 2024. So, as we end the year, this is the final episode of Travel Explore Celebrate Life of 2023. And we thought, let's recap 2023. If I think about 2023, for me, it included a lot of trips within India. It included, well, I did the count this morning, 40 flights within India and across the world. I had 95 days of travel. Now, often when we think about how many countries you've been to or how many states you've been to, you tend to set goals. But when I counted the flights and the number of days I spent traveling, whether it's for work or on holiday, I found that this time it was the most I've traveled in my life in a year, and that's 95. I don't know how many days you have traveled, Sunila, or how many days our listeners have traveled, but we'd love to hear from our listeners, so you can certainly write to us. Now, Sunila and I are going to discuss a very informal, casual discuss or have an informal or casual conversation about our 2023. And we'll start by asking Sunila one thing. Sunila, when you started the year
Mhm.
2023, what were your travel goals like? What did you want to do? And did you really achieve them?
Hi Neil. Hi everyone. Yeah, it's been an amazing year. I think it's the first year, Neil. Also, probably because you've traveled. I haven't counted the number of days I was out. I'm too. I think I'm a little worried to count those number of days that I was out there. Probably quite a lot. The goals that I had set up, I think, was mainly to see a few places that I had not seen before. Yes, I love going back to the same places that I love, and I did end up doing that. So I did visit London, again twice, in fact, in this year, which was fun. But I also like to see new places and trying to discover newer areas. So I think partly I've achieved my goal because I did have a chance to go to quite a few different places that I had never visited before. And I think the same goals probably will go in for 2024 because there are some events where we have to go for our work. There are some exhibitions that we take part in, which are held in the same city every year. So, I mean, needless to say, I will be visiting the same country and the same city again and again, and even within India, the same places. But yes, I would love to visit and see more of all those remaining countries that I haven't been to.
Awesome. So, looking back at 2023, I'm sure you did
Mhm,
a lot of trips within India and also across the world. But I wanted to start with India. Now,
mhm.
what is one trip that really stands out for you? What is one trip that really was different, was a little offbeat, and something that, of course, you remember all of your trips, but something
Yeah.
that comes to your mind top, which was that?
I think for the sheer happiness and the relaxation it got me, I would say going to Six Senses Mana in Dehradun. I think
Okay.
that really, really stands out for me because it was 3 days completely detox, digital detox. So they have a rule that you have to keep your phones. You can use the phones only in the room. And I was so happy for that. So, when it was really a proper detox and it came kind of halfway through the year. So
Yeah.
July, I think I went there and I really don't mind making it an annual tradition, to go
Oh,
there.
nice. So, how do you get there? You fly to Dehradun.
You fly to Dehradun and then it's just about an hour away from Dehradun. So it's really easy to get to. It's a short flight. And the best part is you must get the window seat when you fly into Dehradun because when you're
Ah,
landing, the Rajaji National Park looks amazing and it's all green. And all the homes in Dehradun, Neil, they are those small 1 or 2 storied homes,
yeah.
nicely painted in some pastel colors. So it's a stunning sight when you're landing. So I really enjoy that. And this is my third time, I think, to Dehradun since in the last few years because I went to Ananda twice before and this time again to Vana. So I make sure I have the window seat when I'm there. But that trip
Well,
was
yeah, that's
really
a good
nice,
travel. That's
amazing.
a that's a
Yeah.
good travel tip to have. So what?
Mm.
No phones at all but your room.
But in your room, and yes, in the lobby, you can kind of use them a little bit. But they, no, there's, sorry, not the lobby. There's a room that you can go to
Oh,
where you
wow.
can use the phone. And I think it was the best because people were actually connecting. You know, they say in a disconnect to connect. I mean, it sounds like a jargon, but you actually see people doing that out there. And there are so many books and so many other things. They have the itinerary from time to time. So they keep you busy. It's not like you're, and the food was amazing. So in a wellness area to have food that is so good was also very nice, and I had some treatments there, so it really felt very nice. So I think for me that is a standout as far as India is concerned.
Awesome. Well, moving from India, let's do this India outside, India
Yes,
outside.
okay.
Well, and I'm going to ask you the questions. We want
Okay.
information from you. Of course, we could turn it into a discussion. You can ask me
Yeah.
questions later on. But now that's India. Okay. Now
Mm-hmm.
let's go to the world.
Mm-hmm.
I think you did a trip to Greece and we
Yes.
did a podcast on it as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
What what are some things that stand out from that trip?
So this was a trip with my friends and two of my school friends who now live in the US. And we discovered last in the last few years that this was a great way to meet halfway around the world, so that it's easy for everyone. And we want to meet now. We want to have our me time. There is family time, of course, but it's a different thing with your friends. So we decided to meet in Greece. What really, I think every day was amazing. Every day, the food was so good that I just can't stop talking about it. I mean, healthy and delicious and amazing. And I think, except for maybe one day in a small taverna where it was a little fried, every other day we've had really good food for lunch, dinner, wherever we went. And Greek food is amazing. The views were amazing. The islands, we spent all our time on the island. So we went to Santorini, we went to Mykonos, and then we decided to do one offbeat, so we did Paros. And from there we took a ferry to get into Antiparos, and it's really quite easy to get around as well. What struck me is that sometimes we think that, oh, it's the same. You look at Greece photos and you wonder, really, is it that beautiful, or it's going to be the same? But every island was different. So I think what I realized there, that the character of every island in Greece is really different. So you shouldn't just go to one island and come back. At least do two. At least do two, if not more. Do road, semi, whatever it is that you want to do. So you can choose different things, and that's how our itineraries are planned as well, so that you get a taste of different islands, because there are different things to do. There is history, there is culture, but there's also nightlife, there's entertainment. And getting across the islands is also a lot of fun. So we kept waiting for the ferry to arrive, and then we realized, what are we going to do with our bags? But it was simple, but also a little different, that you all, everyone scrambles into the ferry, and then you go in and leave your luggage on the basement, like level of the ferry, where they have it marked that this is going to Santorini or this is going wherever. And then you go up and you relax. And then there was an option to upgrade seats and stuff. So those ferries were interesting too. Really a fun way to cross, do island hopping, or to get from one island to the other. Very comfortable, very, very nice. So I think in all, Greece was just stunning. The sunsets, I can't tell you how beautiful the sunsets were. I mean, it is what we see in the postcards, and it's true. I don't think the photos do justice. So if there is one place you want to go to 2024, I think Greece it should be.
I'll
You've
pick
been
on one
there, right,
thing.
Neil? Or you
No,
still have to
I
go to
haven't.
Greece? You
It's still on
haven't
my
been to
list.
Greece, yeah.
There's
Yeah,
one thing
maybe
I'll pick
next year.
up.
Mhm.
There's one thing I'll pick up on that you mentioned is that Greece is not just two islands, is what
Yes,
people have to
6,000
realize. Yeah,
islands
right. Because we
and more.
hear a lot about Santorini and
Yeah.
Mykonos, but when our product team actually went to research there, they found out that okay, it's not just two. There's
Yeah.
these hundreds of islands that someone can go to, and it is quite incredible. So I would say that like when someone's traveling to Greece, you should really definitely think about that. Now,
Yeah,
okay.
Neil, I think the best way to do Greece, I mean, it would be that you have to go into Athens. So you would do Athens and then add one different island. If you're doing multiple trips, add a different island every time you go. That would be a really nice way to discover Greece, because you have more than 6,000 islands. You have the Cyclades, you have the Ionian Islands, Aegean Islands, so Aegean Sea out there. So discover different aspects to it. So do go into Athens, because Athens is also a lot of fun. And once
Yeah.
you've seen the main sites, the nights in Athens can be stunning. Rooftop bars, Plaka district is so live, and everywhere we go, there's live music, there's dancing, there's food. So, it's a perfect holiday. There are things to see, things to do. I think Greece is amazing.
All right. So we went from Dehradun
Hmm.
to from a wellness retreat
Yeah.
to us discussing Greece. Now let's go to Southeast Asia. You did
Hmm.
a trip to Vietnam.
Yes,
What do you
my
remember
first
from
trip.
Vietnam?
I was just thinking, Neil, isn't it funny that all the main sites, the main cities in Vietnam, everything starts from an H. So you have
Oh,
Hoi An,
really?
you have
Yeah,
Hanoi, you go
yeah,
to Halong Bay, Ho Chi
yeah.
Minh City, Hue, which was the old capital. And I thought, wow, that's something. I was writing down things I went to, and I said, yeah, I went to Ho Chi Minh, then I went to Hanoi, Hoi An, and then I went to Hue from there. And then I went to Hanoi and I went to Halong Bay. So it's like, yeah, it's like the amazing H's. So
Yeah.
I kind of went across the country, my first visit. So I wanted to touch off all the most important points of Vietnam. And boy, is it such a fun trip. So I was already thinking next time when I come, I will go here and I will discover more of the country. Amazing place. I think I tasted all types of coffee out there. So along with, of course, the sightseeing and the sights attractions are there. But what was special was, have you had a fish coffee, Neil?
A fish coffee. What is a fish
Yeah.
coffee?
So fish sauce coffee.
Like
It
I
sounds like
don't.
that, but it was good. And I was in Hoi An, and there is this one place where they had a farm to food table kind of a restaurant. And at the end, she said, "Why don't you try a fish sauce cafe? You look adventurous." And I said, "It sounds terrible." And she said, "Look, you had the egg coffee, right? Does it taste bad?" I said, "No, the egg coffee is amazing because it's more like a custard or more like a tiramisu, I would say." So she said, "Yeah, try it." And then she got me a small custard tart to try along with it. So they they serve it with a small dessert by the side. And it's a cold coffee. And on top of that, there's just a drop of fish sauce, which makes it salty. So it was like, okay, very different. It won't turn into my favorite coffee, but it was interesting. I won't say it was bad at all. So that was nice. But I had coconut coffee. I had the cold Vietnamese. I had the hot Vietnamese coffee. I had the egg coffee. I had all kinds of coffees. I think almost every single day I would have at least one.
And you got suits stitched in Hoi
Yes.
An, right?
Yes. I got some dresses and suits stitched in Hoi An, and they are great. They do it in one day, which is just crazy. So,
So let's recap
yeah.
that because we did an
Uh-huh.
episode on Travel Explore Celebrate
Yeah.
Life about
Yeah.
that. But what is the process? See, over here, generally, if you go to a tailor, they'll be like, oh, it's going to take 3 weeks,
Yeah.
4 weeks.
Yeah.
But here you walk in and you have the suit by evening or the next morning. So what
Correct.
is exactly the process? Let's dive a little into this.
Sure. So Neil, actually, I decided to go there based on, the podcast we did, and when you also mentioned quite a few
Yeah,
times that you had got your suit stitched, and then you said, yeah, it's really easy. They do it in a day, which was a little unbelievable. But of course, in Thailand also they do it. And then I said, okay, if I'm getting it done, then I changed my night stay from Da Nang to Hoi An so
yeah.
that I could get it done easily. And the way it works is you walk into one of these shops. There are lots of shops in Hoi An, lots and lots and lots. But there are one or two which are really good. There was, I think, one called Baby, which was quite nice. And there's one more, I forget the name, but quite nearby. So you walk in and they ask you what you want. They have small pads like iPads or tabs on which they show you all the designs. Or if you have a particular style in mind, you can, show it to them. They discuss fabrics, they show you many different fabrics, then you settle on designs, they take your measurements, and then they call you for the first trial. Usually I think they need only one trial, but sometimes two trials are what they take, but within a few hours. So if you go in, I think it's best if you go in there in the morning so that they have all the time to get it done if you're short of time when you're staying there, because if you go in the evening, obviously they've closed. I think they must be working 24 hours because it's crazy. The next day morning, they called me that come in and do your trial. And then we decided a time by afternoon. I went in for a trial. They're really good at making the adjustments, and it makes a huge word of difference. So it's totally custom made. I think that was the best part, that it's actually tailored to you. and I got quite a few things made, and then they put in the extra bits adjustments, and yeah, so by evening it's ready, or next day it is ready. So it was really fast, quite pocket friendly,
Hmm.
and good stuff which you like and you want. So I think along with the other things and things to do and the lanterns of Hoi An and walking there by the river and everything else, stitching suits was fun.
Nice. And tell me one more thing. Like, on Instagram, we see
Hmm.
people sitting in these boats,
Yeah.
and the person who's like maneuvering the boat
Mm.
goes round and round and round and
Oh
round
yeah.
and round, right?
Yeah.
Did you do it?
I
And
did it.
is it
Well,
as it's seen in those photos or videos?
it's as crazy as you see it. So this was at the coconut village, and you have the round coracles, like
Yeah.
we have in Karnataka as well. So I've sat in the coracles in Karnataka. I had somehow missed this on Instagram where they take you round. So I didn't know what to expect. And when we reached there, there was this old. I was alone in the boat, and there was this old, Vietnamese person with me who was maneuvering the boat, and he started grinning when he reached there. And I said, why is he grinning at me like in this funny manner? And he just kept smiling funny. And suddenly he started, turning the boat around completely. And it wobbles so much. It's a lot of entertainment for everybody around you, let me tell you, like everyone. So we were laughing at the others. And before we knew it, my boat was going round too. And then they had this place where there was loud music blaring, and they had some Chinese groups and other Korean and other groups. And it was like a little party that they were having with all these coracles stuck to each other and all the boards going round. So it was a funny, funny scene. And then they quietened down. And you can take a nice peaceful ride through the actual coconut thing too. So it was fun. It was crazy fun. Yeah. But
Nice.
what was even better was the Mekong Delta cruise also. And then when you
Oh,
get
yeah.
off from one of the islands, then the food there is just too good, especially for people who eat fish. It's amazing. The vegetarian was good too, but the fish and the prawns were just out of the world out there. So lots of fresh fruit in Vietnam. So, even when you just walk by the streets, you can have smoothies and fruit juices and just cut fruits, like so amazing. Yeah, it was
Nice.
nice.
All right. So now let's come back to India.
Hmm.
Okay. Tell us about another trip that you did within India that, like, of course, we spoke about Dehradun, but another
Yeah.
trip that you have done in India that, and a little bit about it.
So recently, I think I'd like to talk of the last trip I did, which was, I think now, yes, definitely is the last trip of the year for me. I went to Chennai, and this was for the conference, like there was a conference of Switzerland tourism. So I went there, and then we thought, why not make the best of it? And it was actually almost close to Mahabalipuram, Fisherman's Cove.
Hmm.
So from there, I decided to go to Tanjore and
Okay.
go and see that place because I'd never seen it. And Tanjore is like a hidden beauty. Not many people reach there, but if you have the time, definitely go there. This is the place, Neil, where the Maratha kingdom had established itself.
Oh,
So you still have a Maratha king out there, Raja Bhosle, who is living there in Tanjore. And, I think I mentioned this on one of the episodes somewhere, but again, so, like the South Indian, what is the staple diet? Maybe for a breakfast is idli and sambar, right? So sambar comes from Maharashtra, which is
hmm.
surprising to many because it was when Sambhaji went there to meet the Maratha king out there. He wanted his favorite food, and then amti, which is a very Maharashtrian dish, the dal that you make here. They
Hmm.
couldn't find the exact ingredients, and whatever they made, they call it Sambhaji Chahar, and that's how it turned into sambar. So that is also the connect with Tanjore and Maharashtra. So we did go and see the palace, and you can go and see the frescoes, which are beautiful. The library there is stunning. In fact, there's so many beautiful artifacts there. I just wish it would turn into a really nice, proper museum that we can go in and see it. Even now, it's worth a visit, definitely. You have these huge statues of Shiva as Nataraja and the different things. Oh, I did buy a handmade bronze statue from there, actually. So you
Nice.
can go in and see how bronze is made, and you have the local artisans out there who are doing that. So you can go and see how the musical instrument Veena is made. You can go and see the bronze things, how they're made. It's really nice. You're actually going to an artist's home and you're seeing how they're making it. Then you have these funny dolls that bob their heads. They look like dancing dolls. I did buy them too because that they were really fun. Like they are in a king and a queen and stuff. And the place I stayed that was very, very special. So it's called Swatma. And this is a 150-year-old post office, which is now converted into a hotel. And we
Oh,
did meet
wow.
the owners, and they were fabulous. And I needn't tell you how special it is because just behind our table, when we were at breakfast, was Michael Douglas and Catherine Zeta-Jones on the table
Oh,
behind us.
wow.
So they, on their tour of India, were actually there, and they were so nice that I think no one at the hotel even thought of bothering them because they were no fuss at all and they were going and helping themselves. It was a fun trip. So you can imagine. So this hotel, Neil, has about 6 rooms which are traditional. And then you
Mm-hmm.
have the new property, the new block. And the traditional rooms are really very nice. But even the restaurant, the food was very good. It's all vegetarian food, but very, very tasty. So they have a Maharashtrian thali, the Maratha thali, and they also have the South Indian food, and then they have other food from different parts of India. So very interesting, nice pool. They have a nice little pool. And what is really special, which again was the first time I experienced something like this, was a sound spa. So usually we go to spas and we have like body treatments and stuff like massages, but here they have a bed which has strings attached to it, and also different kinds of instruments. And so for like say about half an hour, they will play different sounds which pull out the vibrations, and you can feel the vibrations in your body, and it's something different. So the sound spa at Swatma was very special. And Tanjore was also equally nice. So the Brihadishwara temple is out there. The main attraction is the temple, which is a monument, but also a temple. It's a
Okay.
living temple. Like people are going there to pray even today. So it's this huge property that you can go and see. Again, different rulers added different parts to it. The Cholas, when they built it, and then the Marathas built a wall around it to protect it. So you have the Maratha gate, then you have the other gates as you go in, and quite a stunning piece of architecture. So yeah,
So
Tanjore, I
again,
think was.
circling back to how did you get there? Where did you fly to?
We flew into Chennai, and then we took the car and we reached Tanjore. But on the way back, we flew out from Trichy. So if you just want to go to Tanjore, fly to Trichy, and it's hardly any distance from there.
Okay,
So
nice.
then you can do the
Now,
Meenakshi, sorry, not Meenakshi, but you can do the temple in Trichy as well, and then you can add Madurai along with it to do the Meenakshi temple, and then you can do so many other things in Tamil Nadu.
okay. Now, do you want to talk about another trip in India, or do you want to talk about your trip to the US or London?
I guess the US or London, because we've spoken of
Okay,
India and we
let's come
can
to the
come back to
US.
India
Yeah,
again, but
let's come to the
yeah.
US then.
Mhm.
What what were some of the highlights of your trip to the US?
Okay, so to the US, this time I spent a week in Las Vegas. I ended up spending an entire week there. So I think every day it was one hotel at a time and discovering the food and the other things to do. But what stood out was a very different USA from what we really know. Like I did go to Los Angeles, I went to Las Vegas, I did the usual things, outlet malls and shopping and food and hotels and everything that we do. But what really stood out for me, Neil, was Texas. I went there
Hmm.
to visit Brand USA's mission that they have for the event.
Hmm.
But it also gave us some time that was free, and it was in San Antonio. And San Antonio it's like stepping back in time. I mean, the people are like, it's like a Mex-Tex mixed town. So you have a lot of Mexican food, and the entire city is along the river. And it was
Hmm.
so beautiful because this was around end of May, I think. So the weather was just perfect. The summer had not yet set in, but the winter was gone. So it was springtime. There were flowers everywhere, and all along the river, there are these little cafes that you can sit in. And here again, I could, so when you order guacamole, usually when you order guacamole, they just bring you a guac in a plate, right? But here they come with a little table and a tray. They set it up there. They take avocados, they scoop it out, and they make fresh guacamole. It's like a bale counter. that they bring, and they were whipping up fresh guacamole, and it was the best ever. So just sitting by the river, being there, and then the town put up a beautiful show for everyone, because IPW is an event that happens for you promoting tourism to US, and you have people that come from all around the world. So in the night when we went and sat there, they actually had a float for us. Like they had a parade through the river. They had a river parade and beautiful floats. And one of the floats that the town put up had Indians in Bharatnatyam dresses and doing a dance on it. So they do have a sizable Indian community out there. And that was a nod to it, which I think was very nice and very thoughtful. So San Antonio was fantastic, because they even had, like, as a part of the event, on one part they had a rodeo show, and they had all of these other things happening. So I think if you're looking to discover something new, stepping off the usual route and getting into Texas or the others might be quite interesting.
Nice. What airline did you fly? Did you fly the longest trip in the world, longest flight in the world on Singapore Airlines, or was it something else?
No, it was, I think this time it was Lufthansa, because there was some other stop that I had to take. So
Hmm.
it was not the longest trip. That was on the earlier trip that I went.
Ah.
Yeah.
Speaking of flights, what is an airline experience that you remember from 2023? It could be anything.
So I think surprisingly, Neil, it is Saudi.
Okay,
When I went to
nice.
Saudi Arabia, and okay, I was in business class, but the feedback that I got from everyone else was it was equal throughout. And one of the warmest hospitality I've seen on flights was on Saudi.
Nice.
Like they were the seats were okay. I mean, there was a lot of leg room, but it was not a complete flatbed. But it's okay because it's not a very long journey. It was about 5 hours, so it was fine. But the service, Neil, was something that recently very warm, and people, she kept coming in. I said, I don't want to eat anything. I'm fine. And she came back and said, at least have some breakfast. And it's actually like someone going to someone's home, and, she was trying, she said, come on, have fruits at least, or a yogurt. And she did insist on bringing me something small. And she said, at least have a coffee, if not something else. So after a very long time, and this was true on both the journeys, not just my onwards journey, but even on the return, I could feel the warmth on the flight. So I think after a very long time, more than the aircraft itself, I think the service was just top notch.
And tell me, if you had to give someone three tips about flying, like, three
Mhm.
tips that from Sunila's diary, that do this, don't do this, do this, don't do this, what would they be?
So, about flying, I think one of the most important things that I have started doing is, to beat the jet lag. Of course, like they say, is to set your watch, if possible, to the destination that you're going to. And nowadays I try to avoid eating meals in between if I can, unless I'm really hungry. But I make sure that before getting on the flight, then I have my meal, and then so you can have undisturbed sleep, because catching up on sleep, I think, is the best way to beat jet lag. There's no other way to beat jet lag, is what I've found. Also, when we lie down flat, I think it helps us keep our body straight, and then that kind of prevents all the other side effects of lying that you get with water retention and legs and edema and whatever else, and jet lag. So I think trying to avoid that, if you suffer from jet lag, if you're someone who's looking forward to your flight and wants to have a nice meal there and watch movies and everything else, I think, of course, that's a different story. So that is one that I would say. Even when it comes to India, don't forget to check in and book your seats, because sitting in the middle seat is not really pleasant. So if you can, always, 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 always book your seats as soon as you book your flights. So that is a second thing that I'm really particular about. And like we mentioned, getting the window seat, because I love my window seat more than the aisle. If there is no choice, then of course I do um, take the aisle seat. But also, like when two friends are traveling, that is again something I've started doing now. Is then we probably take two aisle seats so that both of us are comfortable, rather than having one aisle and one middle seat. We
Yeah, you're
choose to
very
do
right.
like two aisles, so that neither one has to suffer. Or we say, if it's a short flight, forget it, take two windows, one behind the other. But if you want to chat and you want to chat on the flight, then two aisles work out really well. So I think that's probably what I'm doing. But I'm sure you have more flying tips, right? You
I
are
mean,
the
Like
You love airlines, so you're the one
yeah,
with all the tips.
that's why like I started that 5 minute travel tips
Mhm.
podcast because but if I
Yeah.
had to give three tips to someone, I would say
Mhm.
use Digi if you're flying within India.
Yes,
It's
of
very
course.
fast,
Yeah.
right? Second thing would be that if you are watching a movie or listening to music, please wear your headphones because often people I've seen like
Yes.
watching reels, watching movies
Yeah.
full
Yeah.
volume. Then
That's
it
that's not
it
pleasant.
disturbs people, and
Yeah.
then you've seen videos of people fighting on flights and all of
Mm.
that, and
Mm.
it's always on these very small reasons and all of
Yeah.
that. And my
Yeah.
third thing is often that if you are flying and if you're flying a lot, invest in a suitcase that has four wheels,
Yes.
whether it's like a big suitcase or a small
Mm.
suitcase. If your suitcase has wheels, your trip is going to be 50% or 100% better than what you are doing.
Mm.
I see a lot of people picking up luggage and holding
Mm.
it and walking to the gate. Nowadays,
Mm.
airports are also becoming big.
Mm.
So,
Yeah.
like, I feel if you have a suitcase that has wheels and not two wheels but four wheels, it really helps. The only place where the four wheels don't help but they act against you are airports where there's a lot of carpet. Now, there's a
Mm.
lot of carpet
True.
in some places on Mumbai airport. Changi
Yeah.
airport is known as a silent airport in Singapore. So, silent airports are silent because they have carpet, so you don't hear the wheels everywhere, but then it becomes difficult to lug
Mm.
your bag through. But that's the only pitfall. Otherwise, it would just be
And Neil,
very,
one
very
more
easy.
point just on the same topic is that the backpacks or the other smaller bags also. So actually, I invested in a smaller bag, which kind of has the luggage sleeve, so you can put it onto the other bag. So I think that also helps because pulling two suitcases, like if you want to carry a small carry-on along with your check-in baggage,
Yeah.
pulling two is a pain. So if your carry-on can just fit nicely on your check-in, once you get it, life becomes really easy, especially when you're
Yeah.
traveling in trains in Europe or anywhere else also. You can just put one bag onto the other with the luggage sleeve, and that is a big help. So,
Today when I'm traveling across India, and if I want to buy a bag, whether it's
mhm.
like a briefcase or something like that, I try to find out whether it has that sleeve that goes into
Yeah,
your
exactly. That's what I'm saying. The
stroller.
luggage sleeve, and then
Yeah.
you just put it on top. I think I will only buy bags like
That's
that
yeah, that's
moving
a game
forward.
changer, right?
Yeah,
Because you're just holding on to one thing
yeah.
and that really works. And then I'll give one more tip if someone were to
Uh-huh.
ask me is, and I don't think airports and airlines invest in educating travelers about this tip, is at
Mm-hmm.
security, right?
Mm-hmm.
At security, nowadays they have these new security screening X-ray machines where
Yeah,
three people can stand in three
yeah.
rows.
In a different bay. Yeah,
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 but wherever I am, I see people jumping lines,
yeah,
picking it up,
yeah,
and not realizing that you're slowing it down for yourself and
yeah.
everyone else ahead of you also. So it's not more of a tip, but it's a plea to
Mm.
airports in general to just create consumer
Awareness.
education
Yeah.
videos or awareness videos so that it just becomes easier.
You
We were
don't need to
together,
carry
yeah,
the tray, but I see people going and putting all the things in the tray and walking. You just stand there,
yeah,
the new tray comes below, pick it up and
yeah.
put it on top. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
I
We need
mean,
some education there. Yeah,
I'm not complaining. People generally are
yeah,
traveling for the first time, second time, and certainly there. But it's not the traveler's fault. It's the
yeah,
people who are manning the machines who should actually be instructing how it's to be done and
true.
all of that. But that doesn't happen. And that's not only in India, but across the world also. I sometimes feel that happens. So yeah, like those are some of the things. I'm not discussing London because we've discussed London a
A
lot
lot
of
of
times
times.
on
A lot of
this
times.
podcast. Have you
Uh-huh.
missed out any trip of yours?
Well, I did Vietnam, I did Greece. Let me look up. I went to Thailand, Singapore, usual, Saudi Arabia, but we spoke
Yeah, we
about it.
discussed that on a
We've done
podcast. Yeah.
that. And yeah, well, the only other place I went to was Spain, Marbella.
Tell
And
us about it.
then that was so nice. This was in March. And I think for someone who's looking for a nice holiday, in that slightly shoulder season or off season. If you don't want to go swimming, then going to Spain is fine even at that time because,
Hmm.
yes, it is a little cold. The winter's almost ending. It was still winter, but the sun was shining so brightly all the days that I was there. So
Hmm.
it's still really pretty. And if you're not going to go swimming in the water because the water's cold at that time, of course, you can swim in the pools, in the hotels and stuff. but it was a great trip. And I had a chance to go to Marbella Old Town as well. And I also discovered one more place called Mihas, which was beautiful. And they actually have donkey carts there, and that is the taxi that they are still using. They really have the town. They, used to use donkeys so much that they actually have a statue of a donkey out there as well. But whitewashed villages, again, a little bit like Greece. And we've discovered this also, Neil, on why the villages are white and all of that. So these are those pretty little villages along the coast, and the coastline just looks stunning from there. So Marbella was stunning, just stunning, all the days that I spent there. And yeah, and then I went to Malaga as well, and then I flew out from Malaga. So that was also a very nice trip, and definitely something that you should do when you go to Spain is at the Costa del Sol. So along with Andalusia, Catalonia, go to Barcelona, go to Madrid, and go to Marbella. At least these three places, even if you don't do the others. But of course, you can do even a 15-day trip in Spain. You've gone to San Sebastian, haven't you? So that was
Yeah,
also
so I
something
mean,
nice.
if you ask people of San Sebastian, they'll be like, you've not visited Spain because we are Basque country.
Right,
And like, they
right.
call themselves the
Yeah,
Basque people. So it intrigues me that, when you're in Spain, it feels like you still have to visit the Catalonian part of it.
yeah.
You have to visit Spain, and then Basque country. So
Yeah,
like
Catalonia wanted to be separate as well for they were trying to move out of Spain, but
so what is
thank
your country count now?
I think the last time we counted was about 78 countries.
78.
So yeah,
That's still
let's
shocking. You still have 22 countries to
I
reach
know, I
100.
know.
Yeah.
And
Which country is
2024
going to
should.
be which country is going to be next that you'll tick off?
So I haven't really thought of it. There were quite a few on my mind. I want to do something that is completely maybe different, and I was trying to see if I can get to Madagascar next year.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, something that is a little different from what we've done. Namibia is something else on my mind, but I
The
don't think
dark
that'll
the
probably
darkest
happen in
the darkest skies
2024.
in the world
Yes.
is what
So
Namibia is.
yeah,
Well, they are saying
but
that the northern lights are going to be the brightest also this
yes,
in 2024 because of the solar maximum happening.
sure.
So that should be on people's bucket list
Yes.
too.
So Iceland is also something I haven't yet visited somehow. So again, maybe
Hmm.
24 will bring that in. What about you, Neil? What are your plans for 24?
I mean, when I look at 2024, I have only a couple of trips planned. One is to Delhi just for work, and then another one is to Australia, going back to my motherland. A friend's getting married. So
Yeah.
Air India launched a direct flight Mumbai Melbourne. So I'm going to be enjoying Air India, going there and coming back. So that's going to be a quick trip. Apart from that, I haven't really planned anything. I'm at that age where
Same here.
a lot of my friends are getting married. So I ended up going to Phuket 2 or 3 times this time, but tried different routes instead of going via Bangkok or direct
Mm,
flight. So I don't know, maybe a trip to Bangkok also might
yeah.
happen. I am into my golf, so I might do a golf trip with my friends.
Mhm.
There is a trip to Bali scheduled with as a reunion from
Mm.
my university friends, but haven't really planned
There is
anything.
one
Yes.
trip I've already booked, my first trip for next year, which I've booked now, and that is within India, which is something I wanted to do this year, but it got postponed. And I will go to Maheshwar, so MP, by the
Ah,
Narmada and at
okay.
Ahilya Fort. So I'm already booking that for March. In fact, I just booked it. So I know where I'm going at least in the first quarter of the year. And then the rest, I think I'm not going to plan too much this year. I think I'll just leave it and see where and how, what is possible. But yes, definitely some new destinations. Have to go over 80 now, right? I'm close to,
Yeah, one
I'm
step at
already
a
at
time.
78.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if you really think about it, you should really tick off places like Armenia and Georgia if you have not
Yeah.
really done. Have you
Armenia
done
I've
them?
been to. Georgia is pending.
So
Mm,
like, those places can be ticked
mm,
off very easily.
easily and
Yeah,
quickly. Yeah.
What about Cambodia? Have you done Cambodia?
No, that is pending as well.
The Angkor is probably one of the
Yes.
best places I've
Yes.
seen. So, yeah, definitely do that. I guess
Yeah.
let's end the episode over here. Listeners,
Sure.
thank you so much for tuning in. That was Sunila's recap of 2023. We'll discuss my recap on another episode, but we thought we'll ask Sunila today where
Mhm.
she has been, how she created her bucket list, and what she really managed to tick off. Tell us about your bucket list for 2023. Did you tick off everything that you had planned for? We'd like to hear your travel stories. And if you've already If you haven't already noticed, we have other podcasts also. One is called 5 Minute Travel Tips. One is called Know the Unknown. We have a Hindi podcast called Chalo Bag Bharo Nikal Pado. We have a Marathi podcast called Travel Katta. And also, because we live in the state of Maharashtra, we feel Maharashtra has a lot that it can offer the traveler, and that is why Sunila and the Veena World tour managers started a podcast called Apla Maharashtra. So you should definitely check those out too. Thank you for tuning in. We hope you have a great holiday season. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to all of you. And we will see you in the first week of the new year with a super fun episode. And let me tell you the title of it. It's going to be Resolutions or Travel Resolutions
Yes.
2024. So that's it from us. Thank you so much, everyone.
Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.